The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
Hey, it's Antron Brown, driver of the Macro Tools Top Fuel Dragster, and yes, I'm a 3-time world champ. But you know what? When I win, I go straight to WFO Radio, baby. I want to see you listening in.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome back. WFO Radio is on the air. NHRA Nitro. I'm Joe Castello. We've got a huge show for you this week. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt, going to join us as we recap the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals. And our winner guest, Antron Brown. You just saw AB coming to WFO. Going to talk a little bit about his second win of the year, and slightly temporarily derails the Coletta Motorsports train with a final round victory over Doug. And it was just a wild race, like one of the best single rounds of Mission Foods Top Fuel action maybe ever. That first round, everybody was buzzing and talking about how amazing it was, and that action continued throughout eliminations. Great track, kind of interesting weather conditions. We'll talk about all of it with the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt. We'll also talk about the latest update that we received on Sunday morning from John Force Racing about John and his situation, and we'll go through Bob Tasca's win, and Double A Ron Aaron Stanfield goes back to back. Gage Herrera goes back to back. I'm not going to go all 11, right? The guy won 11 races in a row, man. It's crazy. It's insanity what's happening there with the Revzilla team at Vance and Hines, how Gage is able to continually rise to the occasion. I've got some theories. We'll talk a little bit about all that and all the fun we had, the Norwalk ice cream eating contest, everything that went down this past weekend. Alan Reinhardt is out on the road. We're going to connect with him in the streets. He's going to be in the streets. What do I ask of you before I tell you the people who make it possible for me to go WFO? And I love them and appreciate them. And it is amazing that they support this show the way that they do. But share the show. It's as simple as that, guys. Share the show. We're out there on social media. We're going it alone on the YouTube, on Twitter, on X. If you repost on X, the numbers are just going crazy because people are looking for something to watch. They love NHRA drag racing. They tolerate me. And so repost the show for Antron Brown. Let's get those audience numbers up there as big as we can possibly get them. And I'm going to tell you about the people who make it possible, like CWTindustries.com. Have you gone to the website? Have you checked out this amazing balance machine technology? This is for people who work in the machine shop, who own a machine shop, who have got an antiquated balance machine. It works. You can balance it, but are you doing it as rapidly as you can and as quality as you can? And that's what CWT delivers. It's faster. It's easier to train, touchscreen technology. It does a lot of things intuitively. Pretty amazing stuff. If it rotates, it can be balanced. So go to CWTindustries.com. And if you'd like a personalized introduction to Randy Neal, the owner, if you're interested, by all means, email me, joe@WFOradio.com. Either way, it works. At the start of the show, you heard a little bit about Total Seal piston rings and FTI performance transmissions and torque converters. Of course, we really appreciate those guys for supporting us. And Bernie Speed Shop, 100,000 square feet up there in Ocala, Florida. It's an amazing space. They've got classic muscle cars and exotic cars for sale. So the next time you're looking for a classic muscle or exotic car, think Bernie's immediately. Go to their social media, go to their website, check out their inventory. But let's say you want to sell one and you're thinking about putting it on the corner with a sign. Probably not the best idea, guys. The guys at Bernie's have got all the research done about where to and how to target the person who wants your classic or exotic car. So go to Bernie's, let them sell it on consignment. BURNYZZ.com, Bernie Speed Shop in Ocala, Florida. Foggett. This is a great way to support the show. Just get a can of Foggit. Go to the website, foggit.com, foggit.com, and it works great to protect the inside of your racing engine, your go-kart engine, your weed eater engine. You put this thing away. It's going to be 6 weeks. How are you going to make sure it's going to start right off? Spray it with a little Foggit, a little, and next thing you know, you're good. But really, it's designed for high-performance racing engines. It'd be just a great way to support WFO, and you can get it at summit.racingequipment.com, also amazon.com. Pretty great that it's all working out. We'll tell you about the folks at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and Sam Tech and Marvin Rodak a little bit later on in the show. It has been amazing how everyone is, jumping on board with WFO Radio. We appreciate it, and our great friends at Phillips Connect as well. Let's go into the show with our weekly guest. He is the voice of the National Hot Rod Association. Call the action out there at Summit Motorsports Park. Alan Reinhardt. What's up, Alan? How are you?
Hey, Joe. All good here. How about you?
I'm good. So you're out there in the streets. Where are you at?
I don't even know.
Nice.
I'm somewhere in New York State, and I was like just watching, and said, okay, there's an exit ahead. So I pulled over, and there's a parking area here. I legitimately have no idea where I am. Somewhere on the way to Albany.
You're going to Albany. You're heading to the capital of New York. What are you doing there?
Well, I'm going actually to Lebanon Valley. There's a big regional event this weekend at Lebanon Valley, so I'm headed there. And, it made sense just to drive over from Norwalk and a couple of days to do it, so that's what I'm doing.
Nice. Exploring our great nation. And that is so cool because, this weekend is 4th of July weekend, Alan. The great holiday, 4th of July, baby. Here we are, man. This is it. We're going. Coming from America's racetrack. You're going to go to a drag race. We're going to celebrate 4th of July. It is going to be incredible. Our great America that we all love so much. Isn't that so cool?
Yeah, Lebanon Valley actually does it big. The facility has a dirt track as well as having the drag strip there. And it's a big Division I regional this weekend. We got the new Division I director is going to be coming out for the first time. And they also we finished early on Saturday evening, and they run on Saturday night over at the dirt track. I know it was last year. I'm not sure this year, but last year it was the only fireworks display in the greater Albany area. And so they have a lot of race fans that come out. They'll come out and check out the Lucas Series, and then they'll hang out and watch the dirt track, and then they'll hang out and watch fireworks, and they make a big party out of it. Should be a good time.
Tremendous. I'm super excited. All right. So we got Antron Brown going to be joining us a few minutes from now. Let's talk a little bit about him before he is joining us. A big win. Doug Coletta, the train continues to roll, gets to another final round. That's a long run of consecutive final rounds. I think it's 4 or 5 consecutive for Doug. Couple of runner-ups in there, couple of race wins in there. But Antron leaving his mark, second win of the season, a big race up there at Summit Racing Equipment Motorsports Park for the 3-time champ.
Well, it was big for a lot of reasons. One, Matco is based in Ohio, so they had a lot of folks out there. Antron's prime crew chief, Brian Karate, is based in Cleveland, just down the road. Mark Oswald is originally from, I believe, Cincinnati, Ohio connection there. They, just friends, family, and reasons that they wanted to do well there, and they ended up going home with the trophy. But it was a really fun race. It was very warm on Friday. Saturday, we had the rainstorm come through, and then after that, the water grains were off the charts. It was just very humid and very difficult to tune the nitro cars. And then Sunday, after the front went through, it was cool. It was crisp. The track temperature was down. It was fast, and the teams took advantage of it. There was quite a bit of head scratching going on in round number 1 because they had to make such huge changes from the night before. But the performances were outstanding, and as you mentioned, that first round of Top Fuel, I think might have been the best first round we've seen in about 5 years.
Yeah, I'd have to, I don't know how we would quantify it, right? We'd have to go back and look at margins of victory and average reaction time. But you're thinking about like Sean Reed, you're thinking of these guys who did everything right. TJ Zizzo, they were close. They missed the tree a little bit. Even Kyle Wurtzel, he had a great performance. He just missed the tree. The intensity of that round 1 Top Fuel set the tone for the entire event. We got it in. Great stuff. We'll hear from Antron a few moments from now. But I think the update that we got about John Force on Sunday morning really changed the tone. People were tight. People were sad. Didn't know what was going on. Everybody knows, it was a very circle the wagons kind of situation. There was not a lot of information coming out, rightfully so. And to get that update that John said his name, and folks, you can read it. Obviously, everybody is very cautious about characterizing the update, and I don't want some random person to say Joe Castello said this. You go read the update and take from it what you will. But what I took from it was progress in the direction that I want to see things go. And I guess I'm not alone in that, because the attitude of everyone kind of took a breath on Sunday morning. We had our wonderful Sealmaster track walk following the two Force Racing cars, and everybody kind of, I don't know, allowed themselves to have fun after that.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. You know, on Friday, John was obviously hugely popular in drag racing, period, but Norwalk in particular. You know, there was a time when John was match racing everywhere, every time, he'd, go do a burnout in the parking lot of a 7-Eleven if they'd let him. But those days have gone by. He does one big match race a year. That's Norwalk. You know, he's got a grandstand named after him up there. The Night of Fire, he's the star of the show up there. The Ohio fans love him. The Bader family loves him. He feels the same way about them. And not being at that track was big. On Friday, before we got into funny car qualifying, we took a moment and asked all the fans, hey, if you want to send some positive energy, if you want to, and if they couldn't hear the chair in Richmond, Virginia, it was because they had something else that was going on that was really loud, because the place just erupted with support for John. And then getting that update from the family and the team Sunday morning that he had opened his eyes, he recognized his wife, he knew who he was, it was huge, because, we all, it's in the report. It's not like giving away secrets. John had been sedated. They'd moved him from one ICU to another. And so the fact that he was able to open his eyes, recognize, understand is huge. Does that mean he's perfect? He's fine. He's out of the woods. He's going to be back in the car in Seattle? Of course not. But it's a step in the right direction. And as you said, the whole story is available on, John Force Racing or on NHRA.com or wherever you want to go find it. But everybody, I think, felt exactly the same way as we did when you and I and Galvin were sitting in the tower and we got note, and it was like, that's freaking great. How soon can we tell the fans this? And, that's so, yes, everybody felt, I think, a little weight come off their shoulders there.
Yeah, it changed the trajectory. I think we were all feeling, and exactly, Alan. And, those of us that are in this industry where we have to communicate professionally, there's always risk that 1 out of 1,000 will mishear, misconstrue, misunderstand, take it, amplify it, and then it'll come back. With the worst thing that we could do is misinform. And so it's always, you got to be very, very cautious about it. And so progress is the word that I'm using. But I definitely felt better Sunday morning than I did Saturday. And so let's hope that trajectory continues. And, I'm eager to just let them roll out information in their time. Like, there's some questions in the comment section about the car and why this and why that and what happened. It's like, guys, to go down the road of speculation and not have it. The NHRA has got a team of engineers that are working all of those details and analyzing the incidents. We're not there yet, right? We didn't have you last week to say all of these things, but we're not there yet. And I am definitely not going to speculate and try to recreate what I think happened, because I'm not an expert.
Well, as you said, the car is being gone over, inch by inch. What worked, what didn't work, what made it better, what can we learn from this? Just like with any incident that goes on out there. The John Force engineers, the NHRA tech department, and they've got access to a lot of folks. If they need outside help, they have access to a lot of people that'll come in. After Eric Medlin's accident, I think everybody up to, including the Air Force, had engineers that were coming in and looking and trying to, is there a better way we can do something here going forward? And there were a lot of changes that came out of that. Will there be any out of this? I don't know yet. But it takes time for them to do the studying and to gather the data and to analyze the data and figure out what they're going to do with it. So, I know, everybody wants to know, right? I literally was getting 50 emails a day. Well, what can you tell me about John Force? Well, here's the link to the story. Yeah, I already read that, but what can you tell me? No, I don't. Yeah. The fact that so many of the casual fans, it sounds like, well, we want a webcam in his room. Well, you're not going to get that. When the family has information that they deem is worth sharing, they'll share it. And until then, The rest of us are doing exactly the same thing. Would I like to get updates every day or every, twice? Yes, I would. Am I going to bother somebody who's in that position right now? No, I'm not. I'll wait until they tell me. And when they tell me, then everybody else will know.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. People want, but that doesn't entitle them to have webcam in room. Like if that's real, oh my gosh. But it doesn't surprise me that someone might have asked for that, Alan, right? Like, is that hyperbole or maybe it's true? And social media is
just crazy. I'm sorry, Joe. It's just, think if it was your relative, okay? If it's your kid that's in intensive care, or it's your parent, or if it's your spouse that's in intensive care and is dealing with this, do you want your phone buzzing every 30 seconds because somebody go, hey man, what's new? What's going on? Like, what can you tell me? No, you've got other things to worry about. You've got things on your mind. And when you have news to share, then you'll reach out to the people that you feel need to know and you'll share it. But it just makes no sense. And that's, one of the things that said, please respect the team members and family at this time because they have got worries on their mind. They don't need to be picking up their phone every 12 seconds to tell somebody, there's no news. There's no news. There's no news. When there's news, we'll get it.
Right. And is no news good news, or is no news bad news, or don't go there. Don't think that. Don't try to guess. Don't try to step ahead. Don't try to read the tea leaves. Just take a breath, be patient, and just wait. And the news will roll out in time. And that's what you get. And sorry, that's it. And since we're talking about, news at the start of it, we didn't spend tons of time talking about Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings on WFO Radio, but Pat and Liz Musey are friends, and Lizzie is someone that has been on the mic with me and Z-Max, and we have followed her career. I certainly have. That was some devastating news on Sunday morning as well. It's been a tough couple of weeks. Roger Richards passed away. You didn't join me last week because you were on a flight, but we spent a lot of time talking about Roger and how much we love that man and how great he was in a fixture. We lost him. Lizzie passes away, 33 years old. That's just in so many ways, wrong and unnatural. A 33-year-old beautiful young woman, passes away, a shining star in the sport, drag racing, on television. It was just tough, right? It's been a tough couple of weeks for all of us.
It has. And, I think it just goes to show you, life is precious, right? Get the happiness that you can get, don't keep putting stuff off. The Lizzie news really surprised me. I know, she'd been very public after her cancer diagnosis and her treatments and things. And I guess I didn't realize how far along it had progressed. My thought was, this is a young woman. She's very healthy. She's in very good shape. And they caught fairly early, I thought. And I figured, okay, whatever it's going to be, right? There's going to be some treatment. There's going to be some stuff. And she will beat this simply because, again, young, in good shape, and I was very, very surprised when that news came out. Lizzie was, forget the fact that she was a great race car driver. She was a great personality. She was a terrific person. Her sister also races a little bit, but, she was a shining star on the No Prep Kings and on the Street Outlaws stuff. And as you said, 32, 33 years old, it just, it's devastating. I, can't imagine what Pat and Liz are going through. My heart goes out to them.
That's it. That's where my thoughts are in that, like Pat and Liz Musey, I don't want to go. I don't want to even communicate the way my thoughts are going because I just feel so terribly for them. Their jobs and their lives and everything that was all mixed together, and there's nowhere to escape to, because they all enjoyed the sport of drag racing so publicly together. And, Pat's a great guy. Like I've known Pat for many, many years before this, stuff. We have had a mutual friend here in South Florida, and I feel for him. But what do we, if I always say this, if we could speak with them, what would they tell us to do? And I think they would tell us to, go enjoy drag racing the way that we do. And that's what is our common bond, all of us. And so let's do that. I see Antron Brown is down there in the ready room. Let's bring him on the show. But first, Alan, let's watch the final round as called by Brian Loans on Fox Sport 1 with the Fox, actually Big Fox, the Fox Broadcast Network. That's why I was kind of rejecting because I was wrong. Fox Network, along with Amanda Busick and Tony Pedregon, and then we'll bring on A to the B. Let's
on the Matco Tools 45th anniversary scheme. He would love to put one in the winner's circle here with plenty of Matco folks on the property. The Pep Boys drone for one last time today. They lead. Brown's out first. Coletta trying to catch him at the top end of the race strip. It is Antron Brown, 373.6. The Chicago winner has done it once again now in Ohio. 374.7 in the loss for Doug Coletta.
Antron, you're holding your 60th Wally in Top Fuel. What was the secret to carving through this Top Fuel field today?
Teamwork makes the dream work. Brian Karate's hometown. We got some ice cream scoops here, but Matco Tools, this is their hometown. Summit Racing, all of our partners, FVP, Hanksifers, Lucas Oil, SiriusXM, Toyota. That's what makes it happen. And we had a little trouble there in that last round. We actually hurt the engine in the other round. We put one in and we found something wrong with that one. Boys stayed resilient, didn't stop, put another one in. We got it in, got the win. Truly a blessing. JFR, John Force, for you, baby. For you, baby. I got some ice cream I'm bringing to you. Make you smile.
Oh, so nice. So nice. And he joins us now, Antron Brown, here on WFO Radio. What's up, Antron? Welcome back to WFO.
Oh, Joe, man, it feels good to be back.
Yeah.
It's good to see you and AR, Alan Reinhardt there, man. I was on the show with you about a month ago, so it's good to be back so soon. I'm loving it right now.
Chicago, now you're back. That was a very popular show because everybody out there is reposting on X right now. They're clicking repost, watch Antron. This guy's good, an amazing athlete, and certainly derailed the Doug train, right? This guy has had a whole bunch of consecutive final rounds, and as much as we say Top Fuel has been as competitive as ever before, like never before, at the same time, Doug Coletta, now that he's a champ, he's racing different. He's feeling it, and they have strung together a whole bunch of final round appearances. You were able to knock him off in the final.
Yeah, I mean, you could just see Doug. He's got that swagger going on, man, and he should. The team is phenomenal, and you also got Langland's car over there. The whole Coletta camp is running strong. JR is running strong too. I mean, they are doing their homework, and that team is becoming a powerhouse team, and it just feels good to be able to be a part of that, to be competitive and to get to those rounds and to be able to pull these wins off like we are and starting to qualify in the top of the field. And we're running back and back. We're picking up those little points, man, those 2 points, 3 points per round in qualifying. And that's making some dividends up for us and helping us out and getting into this Mission Too Fast, Too Tasty races. And we're getting more data. And we're getting more competitive where we got the confidence that we can run with any team out there. And that's what you have to have, because there's a slew of teams that can win a race on any weekend. I mean, any team. I mean, our counterpart, Sean Reed, he's stepping up. He lost to Steve-O by 2,000. I think we had the most competitive first round in Top Fuel in the last 15 years at this race. So it's been crazy, man. It's been crazy out there.
Yeah. Alan?
Antron, I've got a question for you. Rank the importance. Indy obviously is Indy, and you've got Gainesville, and you've got some of the the grandfather races, if you will. I know Englishtown was always a big deal for you. That was home. Yeah. Indy's home now, but where does Norwalk rank on that? Because so many of your guys are from there. Matco, I mean, that's got to be as important as any race on the tour. Yes.
Oh, absolutely, Alan. When we go there, man, I think that's what makes that race so hard for us, because you know how people always talk, oh, every race is the same race. It's not. It's like people lie to you. You know what I mean? When you go there, and I know for Brian Karate, that's all his family, his friends, his grandkids, his kids, everybody, all his friends come out the woodwork, man. And then Matco, we had the president of Matco there. Mike Dwyer, I mean, he used to be the president of Goodyear, but now he's the president of Matco, and he knows motorsports, man. So he came out this week, and our new controller, Jeff, the CFO of Matco, came out also, too. He's brand new to the company. He's been in the company now for 6 months. And then you have Hilda, who runs the whole marketing. She's a VP of sales and marketing and stuff. She was out there. And I mean, and then all the other counterparts with Summit Racing, that's a huge race for them, where they don't They just don't bring their customers out. That's their employees of the whole main warehouse out there, right up the street there in Ohio too. They all come out. And when you have all this stuff going on, it's so close to the cuff, and you're like, all right, man, this is a good race. You want to qualify well. For one, you want to make the show so you can put the show on Sunday, because it was enough just to qualify. You know what I mean? So this is the funniest part, Alan, that you're saying that. I was qualified. I was like the third best first round, I think it was. We went a 380 with a 3. And I literally go, hey, man, we're good. We're solidly in the show. We ain't got to worry about not qualifying. That's literally what I said. I said that in my mind and say it out loud. And I said, we're going in Friday night, man. We can shoot for the fences because ain't no way that's going to get bumped out. Well, we still made a great run Friday night. We went a 72 with a 2, and at the time it put us second. And then, man, I look back, that 380 with a 3, we wouldn't have made the show. So I'm like, oh Lord,
you're right.
Like, this class is ridiculous, but to do what we did was pretty phenomenal. To especially with all the people that we had involved in the pressure, Alan, it was definitely on, brother. It's serious pressure, even though we pretend that it's not there. It's definitely there, and it felt good to show out that race.
It's not too soon to start looking ahead to the countdown. We're halfway through. We got 4 races remaining. It's until we get to the playoffs, one of those being the U.S. Nationals, which is almost, is playoff atmosphere. Where has the season gone, right? And are you in preparation mode for that? Have you been in preparation mode for that? You and I had a great conversation about hard parts and clutch discs and stockpiling, because, here we go. Next race is Seattle after 4th of July. We're going to have a nice little break, and then it's gangbusters till the end, pretty much. What are you guys doing to set the table? Because when we go through this playoff, it's going to be like first round in Norwalk, every race from here on out.
Well, the thing about it is Norwalk, Joe, to answer that question, is Norwalk, I think it set us up for that already. Because Norwalk, it felt like we're at a U.S. National. Like, everybody came out the woodwork. Everybody came out with their best foot forward. Everybody was running well. The track was dialed in. And I think you're going to see that from here on out with the racetracks that we're going to, that they're going to be stepping up, and the game's going to be stepping up, where everybody's like, the test mode is starting to fade away, where you're going to start seeing teams get into their race mode. And when I mean race, they're going to the beginning of the year. You want people where they've been putting off their good cylinder heads, and they got some really good pumps that don't have windows in them. They're going to start running the stuff that have brand new cranks in them. They're going to start preparing for the countdown, and they don't want to, like what we do when you go to race countdown. You don't run new parts in the countdown. You run right, true, and season parts in the countdown. So that's what everybody's getting ready for. I know our team is. We're pretty much locked in on our combination. Our engine looks really good, and we're just been honing. Brian, Mark, they've been honing in on our clutch deal right now, like what clutch package to run, what floaters you run with it on given conditions, and they're really starting to nitpick and get it where it wants to be. And it's a good feeling for the guys and for our team here at ABM to see that, because the car responds to what they want it to do. And that's what it takes to go in the countdown. You got to have something that when you make a move, it makes it where you make a move and you're like, it just did the same thing. It ran the same. You know what I mean? And it bit us there in Norwalk. Like Q4, we're trying to run a 69. The car ran a 75, but that was our mistake. We had the wrong package in at the right time. We had the car tuned up and everything else, and we nuked the clutch out the car. But at least we found out why it did what it did. Our car should ran a 69 and 69, 68, and it did it. And we're like, why did it slow down? We came back. That's why it slowed down. And first round, we were put on the same run in E1, and we dropped the hole at 550 feet because we put fuel to it because the weather got so much drier. But it still didn't want the fuel. So we learned that first round and got luck. I mean, we got luck. We still outperformed our competition, but I think that's what happened to a lot of people like Langdon, Dougie, and all them. We thought the conditions were going to get dry. They put the fuel to it, and they start dropping holes like a whole bunch of people did first round and made the racing really, really tight first round.
Alan?
I'm sorry, I'm watching a parade of state troopers go by here. Antron, you talked a little bit about it. I'm not sure how like inside baseball you could be on this, but more than one crew chief told me the track is eating up what I'm trying to throw at it. If they're out there looking at, whatever the temperature is, and it certainly wasn't like it was down in Richmond a couple of weeks ago, but if they're looking at a 130-degree racetrack, they mentally had to treat it like it was 118, 117, because the track was really just chewing up what their car was trying to do. Did you find that too?
Yes, we did. Absolutely, we did. When we ran that 72 on Friday night, that was a tune-up in the car to run 68 that we would put in there. So we had the motor, we had all that, but the track was so tight, it ate it up. And that's why you saw guys running big mile an hour and stuff out the back door, because I believe a lot of people were getting through the clutch, and then they were welding the clutch together, and then it made it run out the back door, run that big mile an hour. And but they weren't getting no front time splits. Like, we weren't getting the 208s or 209s. We were getting like 211, 212, because it was getting ate up. But plus the fact we had a lot of water grains Friday night too. We had 140 water grains on Friday. Was like the air was so wet that you need the air in the air so your car can run better. And then and we ran through that too. That we had the same kind of conditions on Saturday too, and then on Sunday morning, the water grains went all the way down to 70. So the water grains got cut in half, like where the water grains will normally be at, and that's what made it so much different. And then we're making power, but we're also trying to drive through that thick air, so that's slowing you down. It's like an air brake. So that's the things that we ran into. But the track surface was, to answer your question, Alan, absolutely, the track surface was super good, where you thought that you could run a 68, it'll slow you down by 300s, without a problem.
Yeah, I noticed that trying to get off of the racetrack after you're coming down for the winter circle stage. I was up there throwing out a few T-shirts. Reinhart is coming up, and I got stopped by a couple of fans. And you can't stop when you're on the track. You will get stuck. And I got stuck. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm trapped here, man. This is a stickier the track than I'm used to. It was very, very well prepped and very sticky out there. And from what I understand, that Norwalk concrete, or however they do it, holds the rubber. I don't want to say like no other, but very, very well. And so it was very interesting to see. So first round, you get through Dan Mercier. Second round, Clay Milliken, and what has been labeled in our chat section as a battle of the people's champions, right? You and Clay battling it out. Then you go up against Justin in the semifinal. You guys used to be quasi teammates. Now you are just great friends. Obviously, There's a lot of connections between that team, but brutal matchup. They turned the tires. You guys didn't. Pick it up from there and take us through that and the battle in the final round against Doug, because, there's no easy rounds, but to get through those rounds, Justin and Doug back to back is tremendous.
Yeah, when we were racing Justin, we know Mike Green, Tommy DeLago, that whole SCAG team is very serious. So they don't play. They're one of the best at it on race day, and they know how to track and make the car do what it wants to do. And they're not they'll run. And then you got Justin, who they could even be behind a couple hundreds, and he'll pick that up on a tree, because Justin will be high 30s, low 40s all day long. And I know that. I know that game. And I've been working hard to get back there, because I used to be able to do that all the time. And we've been navigating that. When I'm with Justin, I'm like, I'm getting you, Joker, this time. I'm getting you. And we go back and forth. And that round there, man, I knew I was good on a tree. I felt it when I staged. The tree came down. I was on time. I got down there. I was shallow stage. I blinked the bub on. And I looked. And even though they smoked the tires, that's still the game. Justin was 039, and I was 049. I'm like, what do I have to do on this Joker? But it's coming, and we've been working on it. And he goes, AB, he goes, that's what I do. Like, he has like nothing lose. And when you race him, you have nothing to lose. You got to go up there and just throw the hammer down. And
can I ask you something? Can I ask you something while we're talking about this? Okay, so you and Justin, great friends. And like, I'm calling it trash talk. You could call it just like confident talk, like I'm coming after you, whatever. Publicly, he will never go there. What about you guys? You guys, does he come back at you? Or does he say like, it's going to be a wonderful race and you're my great friend?
No. The thing about it is we've got that lingo, you know what I mean? he'll come give me a hug and say, all right, AB, be safe. We always want each other to be safe and get down there. And then he said, hey, man, let's have a good race. I said, and I look back and I said, you know we're going to have a good race. That's what you say. That's the lingo. And we know when we get up there in those cars, brother, there's going to be two swordmen up there dicing and dueling. You know what I mean? And Justin, he just don't care, brother. He's just going to slice and dice you up, man. He's like ice cold in his veins with a smile. With a smile. And I love it. I love it, the competition. And the whole class is picking up like that. You know, me and Langdon have the same kind of rivalry with each other. Like, we're great friends off the track. But, brother, when we race, we're giving each other the business. We're giving each other the business. And when I raced him this weekend in that Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge, right? Langdon goes, man, I saw you at half track and you were just pulling away. I said, imagine that. How does that feel? That's payback from Richmond, because that's what he did to me. That's what that joker did to me. Like, I missed a tree. He drilled me and then drove away from me by 100th. This time I drilled him and drove away from him by 200 or 300. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the way it's going to be this whole season. And the fans are in for a treat. They're in for a show. And with Justin, that's what we're going to get every time. We push each other. I believe we raced in, I don't know, it wasn't last year. It might be the year before. It was one of the races we raced each other in North Carolina for the first countdown race. And we both ran 67s, and he was 050 on a tree, and I was 035. So it goes back and forth. And he didn't miss a tree. I was just on the tree. You get what I mean? So it was one of those deals where it goes like that. And then we got to the final with Doug. Like, that's the crazy part. My first round matchup, I ran Dan Mercier. They've been running really, really good. Then when we were on the second round, I raced Clay Milliken. That round, nobody was getting down the racetrack. Nobody. Like, we had the first two pair in front of us. All four cars lit them up. And our crew chief, Brian, said, get that laptop out. He was like, do. He was telling Brad, knock this down, do this, do that. And they're like, do. And we go up there, and lo and behold, the track wasn't that bad. I think what happened is that people's cars were just over-tuned because the air got so dry, is what happened. And when you get over-tuned like that, that's when your car gets very aggressive on the starting line, and our car was fine. And that just comes with time and experience to know how to back the cars off enough. And you saw Dougie with AJ, he went right down the racetrack like it was nobody's business. And then once we got past Clay and then we got into that semis, we just put the car in the same lap and we just dialed down a little bit because the track backed off a little bit right there. And then the final, the track came back full circle where we go, you know what? Do we try to run a 69 because we think that's what they're going to run? And what we did was we put our car back on the 72 run, and that's what it tried to run, but the track was that much better where it ate it up. And we went a 73. We actually got through the clutch a little bit because the track was so good. So we could have got aggressive with it. And I believe Doug and us, the Coletta car and our car could definitely ran better in the final. I think that we tried to run 71, 72, or 70 flat, and the track was that's that much better where it just ate it up and slowed us down like it did.
Wow. Alan, question for Antron.
Antron, put the top fuel car away. What are you doing with the next couple of weeks? Are you on bracket racing someplace? You taking the little dragsters out? What 2 weeks off before we got to head out west? What's the Brown family plan for the next couple of weeks?
Well, this Thursday, July 4th, is my son Anson's 20th birthday. So we have plans to go to Earl. We might go to Earlville on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to race. It's a 25 grander on Friday, a 100 grander on Saturday, and a 25 grander on Sunday in Earlville, Iowa. And then next week, I'm going to find somebody that's going to take Anson out. I got to fly down to Atlanta, Georgia for Vontier. That's the company that owns Matco, at a leadership conference for him and speak there. But I'm going to try to find somebody to take Anson to Columbus National Trails because they have a national open and they have a divisional race there. So it's a doubleheader, like a race on Wednesday and Thursday. Then they have a race Friday and Saturday, and that'll be Super Comp. And we haven't raced no Super Comp this year, so we can go there and pick up 2 grade points. So we're really, really thinking about going. He's definitely going to be there. We're going to go there. I got to get somebody to take him there. I might even drive him there Tuesday and then fly out of Columbus straight to Atlanta and come back.
Busy. Antron, thank you very much for joining us on WFO. Appreciate it. Second time of the season. Always good catching up with you. This was an unbelievable win, honestly. And then we head out to Seattle. We're going there, a little nighttime qualifying. They're bringing in lights, very first time. That's going to be kind of old school. You know, all the stories from back in the day in the 64 funny cars. Maybe it'll get a little wild on a Friday night. Who knows? And then headed down to Sonoma, just like that, Brainerd. And then it's time for the big go. Where is the season gone? Thank you for taking time with us. We really appreciate it. And congratulations, of course.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for letting me be on. And I love race day.
He loves race day. Alan, he loves race day. Alan loves race day too. All right, AB.
Of course he does, because he gets a text message from me on Sunday night when he wins.
Yes, I do. And he goes, "Don't you just love race day?" And I said, "Yes, I do." That's the AR. Under the scenes, man. Joe, we were trying to keep that under the scenes, but you just brought it out public knowledge.
I love it. No, Reinhardt's got a bunch of different stuff that he does, like behind the scenes. It's good. That keeps the energy up. Keeps everybody happy. It's good stuff. All right, Antron, be well. Hey, happy birthday to Anson, 20-year-old young man. That is a big deal, going racing with your boy. That's what's a better way. What's more America than that?
Absolutely.
Enjoy the holiday.
Thank you.
There you go.
Later, y'all have a good 4th of July.
Brown. You too. Antron Brown with us here on WFO Radio. Yeah, nothing more American than going racing with your dad on 4th of July weekend. And you're going to be out there 4th of July weekend, Lebanon Valley, going to be kind of cool. Race Guitar, A couple of our listeners are going to be out there doing their thing. So, folks, if you're in the area, go do that. Like, support. We're always saying support your local tracks, right? And it's not exactly on 4th of July. So you can barbecue with the fam. And this weekend, you go race, you listen to Reinhart, you go see some great divisional action. Why would you not do that? All right, Alan, but your cell service is a little sketch, and so was Antron. So it's not you. Maybe it's just the internet on this given day, whatever. But let's talk funny car and pro stock motorcycle real quick before the internet gods like destroy you. Tasca jumped up there, and he's been good, and he's been losing to Austin Prock, lost in the final Richmond, lost in the final the Too Fast, Too Tasty, and it's like, well, what's going to happen, right? Is Austin going to beat this guy into submission, or is Tasca going to rally back? And Tasca rallied back, came back, like broke through and got a big emotional victory. Some of the closest races we've seen in funny car. And everything Antron said can also be applied to funny car in terms of performance. Huge victory for Bob Tasca, and he dedicates it to John Force.
Bob's car's been running very well. There's no question Austin Prock was a sentimental favorite, right? Everybody in the place, I think, was thinking that, if Austin could win this, take the trophy back to John, but it's business for everybody else. And I think you're right. I think, Tasca's tired of Austin beating him on a fairly regular basis. They put some good races together. The one ended up being the margin of victory on that one was 1,000th of a second. Austin certainly didn't make any mistake, didn't do anything wrong, just came up 1,000 short. And then Bob kept it going and made it happen in the final round. That car is going to be a contender all the way to championship. They were the big four last year. If Guido can get Ron Cap's car running where it needs to be, and he looked like he was making some progress this weekend. So that's a step back in the right direction. J.R. Todd's running strong. We keep waiting for Dan Wilkerson to bust out. But Tasca is going to have to be dealt with, whoever wins the championship. If Tasca wins it, then Tasca wins it. But if somebody else wins it, you're going to have to deal with Bob Tasca a lot along the way.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. And Tasca was very fired up, very emotional. For him to be successful in the stretch run and down the countdown, it's going to bring some attention. But Austin Prock has clearly elevated everybody. Like, I don't want to say they were cruising before. They were not. Matt Hagan was never cruising. But this kid's presence and his attitude and his energy has caused everybody to get back to work. And Hagan and those guys, everybody is like, you got to get up or you're going to get run down. And it's awesome. It's awesome watching. Yeah. Dean Antonelli says that they're coming around with their tune up and figuring things out. And, JR ran mid 80s and Paul Lee's got a good car. And, the big four, I don't want to say it's no more, but it's just been diluted a little bit because everybody's elevated their performance.
Now, Paul Lee needs to just tell his car that it's Saturday, because as you said, got a really good race car, not getting a whole lot of Sunday results, and he either ends up being in the wrong place at the wrong time or just having some bad luck. But I think if Paul could convince his car Sunday morning that it's really Saturday, then he'd be even more dangerous, because that thing's been running well there. And what you said is right. There's more than just the big four now, but go back and look at who's winning the races. There's a lot of other competition out there, but go back and look who's still winning the races.
Right. And last week was Austin and Hagan, two of the big four. It's just Austin's replaced Robert Height. And this week it's Bob Tasca and Ron Capps, two of the big four. And so,
right.
But it does feel like their advantage is slightly less, but we'll see, to be
Agreed.
in it. Yeah. And losing John, right? Like John was certainly in that conversation, and JR as well. When is the right time to start thinking? I think with the news that we got on Sunday, it's okay to begin contemplating, are we going to see the Peak Camaro on the track again this year? We got a couple weeks before Seattle. Like who's the short list of people to get that opportunity? I obviously want to be respectful to the family and the team, but at some point, as we get news of progress, people are going to wonder, is that car going to be back out there? When is the right time to begin thinking about that?
Well, based on absolutely no inside information, I have not spoken to anybody, and I wouldn't have broached the subject if I had. I would not be surprised if we see it in Seattle. I think you have to keep in mind that racing is a business, and your emotional attachment aside, and with John seemingly making progress, and that's great news, but racing is a business. You've got guys, 9 guys, 10 guys that work on that team that make a living doing that. You've got sponsors that pay to have that car on the racetrack, and that car needs to be on the racetrack. When John had his big crash in Dallas in 2007, that car has to be on the racetrack. It's part of the business. It's part of, and I would not be surprised to see it back on the road or back on the track in Seattle. There obviously, the fan speculation and the internet and everything about, who's going to drive it. And again, no insight, but in order to get somebody in it and get somebody in time for Norwalk after the accident happened in Richmond, that would have been a pretty tough ask to be able to get that all put together. But I think that, with now 2 weeks off before we get there, there's time to make some decisions, to do some things, and to make it happen. I will not be surprised if the car's on track when we get to Seattle. And as far as who's driving it, we'll wait until they decide then. When John got hurt in 2007, he said he wanted to put Phil Burkhardt in it, and Phil Burkhardt's the guy that was in it. Would that be again? I don't know. Tommy Johnson is obviously available, and he's in Indy. So if they needed to do something with him, with the car with him, that wouldn't be, logistically, that would make sense. Jack Beckman is available. I'm assuming he could take time off of his regular job if he got the call to go do that. There are certainly some other people out there. There have been a couple of people that mentioned Vandergriff. I don't know. Again, I know nothing, but my knee-jerk reaction would be, I don't believe that he has his license yet. And I don't believe that you would take a guy with no experience and throw him in that situation. And that's simply my personal feeling. So I think there's options out there, and they'll have to decide what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a little bit of a, again, as progress in the hospital happens, then you can open your mind a little bit to have fun conversation talking about who and when and why. And obviously, Courtney's name has been floated out there by everybody. They'd love to see Courtney. They'd love to see Ashley. They want those two back. I think that is a very, very long shot, guys. I think you can probably move beyond that, but we'll see, right? They will be addressing it over the next couple of weeks, because the schedule is the schedule. And that's the great thing about it. We're going to be in Seattle in 3 weeks. So however it works out, we'll know at that point. But I do want to commend John Force Racing for setting up the whole pit area, and the NHRA for putting up that banner for everybody to sign. It was very therapeutic. I don't know if you told me how therapeutic it was going to be before the weekend. I would have probably not believed it, but it really was. seeing everybody signing it, talking to the team, seeing the trailers there, as opposed to them being gone. And I know that's part of the operation, right? It's like it's a big unit. You don't want to go there without anyone because there's parts and pieces and machinery and machine shop stuff that's in every different rig that helps each rig. So it's all or none. But man, that was a good thing that NHRA did with that banner that everybody signed, and I'm just looking forward to continuing progress.
I am exactly the same. And, yes, being able to see everybody. And I also went by and, stuck my head in the trailers and just said hi to the guys and that kind of stuff. But, it's a business. And, like you said, whether it was Lizzie, whether it was John, whether it was Roger, whether it was, they would want us to go back to the races and be with our racing family and spend, which is what we do. But it is a business, and those cars are going to need to be back on the track.
There it is. No, that's it. That's the fact, Jack. Simple as that. All right, let's talk Pro Stock. Tomorrow on the show, 12 noon Eastern time, and I want to promote the heck out of this. Richard Freeman going to join us for the hour. We're going to hear from Richard Freeman. We're going to talk Pro Stock with Richard, the 6-time champ. Double Aaron Stanfield has won back-to-back. They've got a great team, the Quadras, Elite Motorsports. I think some very interesting and exciting news is going to come out of this interview, and everybody needs to sign on and listen. WFO 12 noon tomorrow, or the podcast after the fact. I'm going to need everybody to help share this thing because we want a big audience. Double Aaron Stanfield, right, gets through Chris McGaha, who, when I was on the mic with you on Saturday, I said it so many times because I really mean it. I want everybody to notice the freaking McGaha family had a great weekend, man, and they deserve it. They deserve this weekend for 2 years. They stayed in test in Richmond. They figured some things out. Mason got to the semifinals, and good for the McGaha family. I hope they can continue this positive trajectory, but in the end, it was Aaron Stanfield going back to back, and Double Aaron. The kid is good. I mean, he did mess up the double, but hey, what are you going to do?
Well, I think he and Dallas are becoming a fun little rivalry. There's a lot of respect there, and they're not going to ever trash talk each other. But those two, same basic path, same basic, right? Following your family into the sport and doing the things, and now having the level of success and driving a couple of cars that are, as good as anything out there. They're in top-notch equipment. I thought it was fascinating after the 1 and 2 qualifiers both went out in the first round that the last time that happened was 2012. That just floored me. And that really turned it into a wide open field.
Yeah. I was looking at it once that happened. So you get these amazed, like Greg Anderson had to be just sick to death. And I know Erica was not happy either, but I talked to her. She seemed to handle it pretty well. But Greg, I didn't talk to, and had to be just like internally furious. At the same time, we get to see Larry Morgan win a round and battle very close race in the second round. Like, so good for Larry, a native Ohioan. Mason McGaha goes to the semifinal where he runs Dallas Glenn and comes up a little bit short. Like, Mason left on him. It was a good race. That's exactly what you want. Had Mason been 15 instead of 32, he wins the race, right? It's so he can start working on getting his confidence back. Christian Quadra goes to the semifinal. It would have been tremendous if Christian had put that Frank Iaconio powered machine into the final round, but Aaron gets by him. But the race that I had circled was Derek Kramer and Aaron Stanfield. After they all went out, I figured that's going to be the round that the winner comes out of, and Aaron goes on and ends up winning the race over Dallas. Dallas rattled the tires in the final, and Aaron wins with a 6:53. And this kid, he is one of those, the more confidence he gets, the better he's going to be.
Well, and he's also a guy that you just can't rattle. He doesn't ever get real excited. He doesn't ever get real down. He goes up there and he does his job, whether he's doing it in the Factory X car, whether he's doing the Pro Stock car, or when he was winning championships in the Factory Showdown car. He's just solid and focused and goes up there to take care of business. Greg Anderson really looked like he had the car to beat. And on Friday and on Saturday, he was close to daylight in the field, as close as anybody's been in a long time, and then go up there in the first round and square the tires as soon as he dropped the clutch. He had to be sick, as you said. But if he can keep the performance level up, you're going to have those bad runs every once in a while. It'll be interesting to see when we get to Seattle, if we have good weather in Seattle, if we have typical Seattle, like, hold my beer and watch this weather for Pro Stock, if he does still have an advantage over the field, or if some of the others have got up to him.
Yeah, and this guy, Scott Purley, says Pro Stock is getting better every race. And I'm very aggressive about promoting Pro Stock because there are so many people out there who, the bodies, they don't look like anything, or it's Pro Maro. There's too many Camaros, even though there's several Mustangs out there with the Quadra family. I just think that, you got to get real aggressive with the people who want to push out negativity. This is the best Pro Stock racing that has ever happened in the history of the sport. Never been closer, never been tougher. Amazing performances, top to bottom. And you got to tell those people, right? Like, you're witnessing the best that it gets. You don't like the shape of the car? Hey, tough. Those are the brakes. Go walk the pits. But the people that are sticking around for Pro Stock are getting an amazing treat. Let me ask you about Hartford, though. Low of the round and, got just clipped by a 004 reaction time. But I want to ask you about the new car and reaction time. Like, they've been working on figuring out the new car, and it seems like they are. And that's going to take some time. It's not the same as the old car. It likes different things than the old car. They've got to do, they did some testing. They've done testing. And now the chassis is coming around where they're figuring it out, and they ran low of the round. They've proven they've got a fast car. But do you also have to work out reaction time in a new car? Is it going to react the same as the previous car? Can you just go in and step on the clutch and expect to cut the same lights in a brand new car? Or is that now another area that they need to address? Because Hartford's lights have been meh all year long. I don't know if you're beating a 004, right? Because that's razor thin. But 66 is not Hartford light.
Well, he didn't have to beat a 004. He had to be 30.
Right.
And so, are there things you can do to the car that, yes, I wouldn't think that the new car would be inherently slower as far as reaction time goes. Over the past, 8 years, 10 years now, and Erica and her team were really the ones that spearheaded making things different on the car to get the car react. And then, there's a reason those green lights are on the bumpers of the car. So when they go testing, they can differentiate between the driver's reaction time and the car's reaction time and understand where do we need to work to get this thing going, to get this thing moving sooner. I'm sure Matt was kicking himself when the thing was over with, but I'm sure that, he needs to put it behind him and just move forward. That you have to have a short memory if you're going to be successful in any professional sport. And drag racing is the same thing. If you make a mistake, you can't go to the starting line the next time, whether it's next week or 2 weeks off, thinking about that. You have to block it out. You have to focus, and you have to get back to doing your job. I wouldn't think that the new car would create an issue as far as reaction time goes, but I'm guaranteeing you that they're looking at everything to see if there's something else that they can do to help Matt.
Yeah, well, and that's it. You're going through a process. They've got the car is fast again now, right? Now, so now you got to address the next thing. Terry Sutton, who was helping out with Larry Morgan, says, can't wait till Indy. Jim Norris says, sorry, but in my opinion, Pro Stock has become checkbook racing. I think it always was. I think it always checkbook racing. It's just a different size checkbook. Now the checkbooks are much bigger, right? But to lease an engine from, back in the day from Yates and those guys was very expensive. It was always a combination of the Warren Johnsons and the Bob Gliddens and the Ray Marson Shepherds and the Frank Iaconios and people who could come in and write a big check. It was always a mixture of that. And it is now. You've got Elite, which Richard Freeman going to be joining us tomorrow on the show, 12 noon. Set a reminder. And you got KB Titan, and you got McGahey, and you got Frank. And, you got a bunch of people, and some of them do have a big checkbook to drive the cars. That's just a fact.
I think the big difference is you didn't used to be able to write a check and get championship caliber horsepower. You just couldn't, because Warren wasn't renting engines, and Glidden wasn't renting engines. And, Steve Schmidt for a long time rented a lot of engines. Dick Maskin did the same thing. But you couldn't go in and rent, you still look at who won all the races, right? I mean, could you rent an engine? You could call Jerry Haas, and you could call Dick Maskin, and you could get a car, and you could get an engine, and you could go out there and qualify. But how many of those cars actually won races? How many of those guys with leased engines actually won races? When guys like Ron Krischer came in, tried that for a while and wanted to win. So he hired Jimmy Oliver. He built his own shop. He started building his own engines. Mark Powick did the same thing. And you get to the point where you now can win a race here and there, and you're going to be more competitive, but that still wasn't championship winning horsepower. Greg raised the bar a little bit when they started KB Racing. When he came in, because they had the money to build his own shop and hire some specialists and do some stuff. And, the Warren Johnson side of the coin was, well, sure, if you just want to, hire 100 experts, and Warren was doing it himself. And I don't think, the Warren and Glidden days passed us a long time ago, when one guy could do everything and you could just outwork somebody. You didn't have to have the biggest budget. You had to have a decent one, but you didn't have to have the biggest one, and you could outwork somebody. And if you had the knowledge, you could do that. But then you get to the point where, and it really, I think, started with Greg when KB Racing came in, when they had full-time engine guys. When Warren Johnson and Kurt Johnson were at the racetrack, there wasn't anybody running a dyno. There wasn't anybody doing cylinder heads. There wasn't, because those guys did it. And so when Greg came in and started his program, where they did have full-time guys in the shop, and they did expand on that a little bit. If you take 100 days, and I'm figuring 20 races in 5 days by the time you travel in and out, if you take 100 days when you're on the road, and I have 100 days more a year that I've got guys working in the shop trying to find my horsepower, I'm going to get in front of you. And that's what happened. But the thing now with KB Titan and with the guys at Elite, yes, you need a checkbook to do it, right? We're not doing it on Joe and Alan's budget. But if you have the budget, you can lease race-winning, championship-capable horsepower, and then it's a matter of what you could do with it. And you've never been able to do that before. And I think that's a big part of why the class is healthy, because there are a number of people that have the resources, but simply don't have either the time or the desire to start their own engine shop, to have 30 employees working on just their race team. They want to come out, they want to race, they want to be competitive, and they can afford it. So glad to have them. God bless every one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And people in the chat section, any professional motorsports is checkbook racing now. Yeah, absolutely it is. And on the Hear It From Heiner show, which, by the way, thank you very much for the shout out for the Patreons. People get that benefit. Here and Michael Heiner talk about all of this stuff every other week or so. And we'll do a Hear It From Heiner show real soon. The idea that Warren and those guys had drums of their own unique, specific fuel delivered to them alone. Like, imagine that now. Like, if KB had their own blend of fuel and Elite had their own blend of fuel and all their own stuff that was secret and proprietary, and all of that was legal and nobody knew what it was, that was just a different era of racing. There were things that were happening that could not happen now. And that's why, in addition to hard work and skill and talent, ability and genius, in addition to those things, the relationships that were formed because of those things added another layer of great advantage to those guys that were dominating, that we may never even know all the details, or some people certainly know all the details. Billy Carroll says this class is so tight that anyone that qualifies can win. And that is the truth. Jolie Stanfield out there. What's up, Jolie? Tomorrow's my birthday. I'll definitely be watching WFO, Richard Freeman, at 12 noon. You're not going to want to miss that one. If you want to email me some questions for Richard, joe@wforadio.com. I don't know how much audience interaction we're going to do in real time. So we'll see what happens. All right.
My understanding is that Richard is thinking about expanding out of pro stock. And what I'm hearing is that he is going to ride a pro
motorcycle.
He's going to start stock motor. He's going to be the guy that stops. Gage 11 done.
Amazing. So I know what you said. I speak Reinhart, so I know what you're saying. But the internet gods wanted to stop you from saying whatever you said, because I know what you said, but the internet god said, no, Reinhart, we're not letting you get that one out. For those that want to know, because I speak Reinhart, he said that Richard Freeman is going to drive a pro stock motorcycle and he's going to stop Gage's streak of 11 in a row. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Gage Herrera, 11 in a row. In the media center, Matt Smith said he felt like that Gage and those guys were sandbagging. Maybe they were, because on Sunday they come out and they knock them down and they win their 11th in a row. Now, asked Matt to tell me why he thought they missed it on the stage, and he said, they just missed the tune-up. He didn't say that they were sandbagging on the stage in front of a crowd. He said it in the media center in front of a couple of select members of the media. it doesn't really matter. Gage is going up there in all these critical situations, and he could red light, he could miss a shift, he could hit the limiter, he could have a problem, and he never does for 11 consecutive wins. That's insane to be able to do that, even if you have a performance advantage. Quantify this feat that we're witnessing.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, even if his motorcycle was half a second faster than the field, to go 11 races, never spin a tire, never double clutch it, never go first to fourth when you hit the shift button, and never have any kind of mechanical issue like that is like defies the odd, defies gravity, basically. But they keep doing it. And I think he knows, and Drew knows, and everybody that's ever competed in sport knows the role is going to come to an end at some point. And I'm not saying that he's going to fall off, and like, oh, well, lose the next 8 races in a row. I'm just telling you that you can't do this forever. So you ride it as long as you can ride that wave, and understand that at some point the wave's going to crash. And then, you jump up and try to start another streak. But right now, watching and witnessing history, and I really believe, from talking to Drew and talking to Eddie, the fuel change that came about earlier in the season or in the preseason is throwing those guys for a loop. The new fuel is just different. And with as humid as it was out there, what you would do to adjust previously doesn't have the same effect now. And how often do you get a chance to go out there and test when there's 140 water grains? The answer is not very. So it took a few runs before they realized, okay, this is what we really need to do. And once they figured that out, then, the bike was right back where it's been basically the whole time.
Let me ask you this. Okay. So I think Matt Smith is going to continue to work. And when will this roll stop? I did mention a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned on the microphone, like 6 for 6 now. At some point, we got to bring up the specter of a perfect season. I don't know if it's a specter, but it's definitely something positive. Specter seems bad, but a perfect season. Could it happen? Steve Torrence had a perfect countdown. He won all 6, went 6 for 6 in the countdown. It seems so unlikely, but we can float the idea, right? Like, you got to start talking about it, and maybe it won't happen. Maybe it'll get knocked off the second, but they're doing something that has not been done ever before. And the competition is dwindling, right? We had 14 bikes. I hear we're going to have fewer out there when we go west, because some people can't make the tow out there. Ron Torno and a couple others aren't going to go west. What do you think is happening to the pro stock motorcycle category during this period? That having been said, on Ignition last night, what did the people want to talk about? Pro stock motorcycle, because this unprecedented dominance is attracting the interest of people. They're like, wow, this is something that's never happened before. Maybe I'll pay attention to these guys. It's just a weird and interesting dynamic.
Well, I think we get out west, there's liable to be a couple of motorcycles come out. There's a couple of part-time bikes out in that part of the world that'll probably show up to help fill up some of the empty spots in the field. But I think, what Gage is doing is what he's supposed to do, right? His job is to go out there and win races. Vance and Hines' job is to go out there and win races. And it's up to the others to try to stop them. And, yes, Matt is going to keep working. Yes, Matt's not going to give up. I don't think he knows how to give up. And he's going to get back. But I also think, there have been opportunities for this streak to come to an end, and people weren't able to take advantage of it. So, as I said, if I'm Gage, I'm ride it as long as you can. As far as perfect season, I don't think St. Louis, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Get me to St. Louis. You don't talk about a perfect baseball season when somebody's won 10 games to start the season.
Right.
You don't talk about it when they've won 30 games to win. You get well past halfway, and then let's start talking about it. That's mine. And I'm also pretty big about I don't like stealing thunder, right? It's like if there's something that might happen that's never happened before, I'd rather wait until it happens and then go, look what you just saw, instead of, build up. Oh, it didn't happen. Build up. No, it didn't happen. Well, and so
And you and I, we've had this debate. Me and Alan have had this debate a lot because I come at it from the different side of it, because if you don't mention that it's going to happen, you maybe don't add to your audience, right? There's a lot of people that are not paying attention that could care less. But if you say something big might happen, they might pay attention and then they might be let down. Sure. Like Al Capone's vaults. Remember what a big letdown that was? But I was at least watching the show, and I would have never watched if I had never been told there might be something great in Al Capone's vaults. And so a perfect season, may it happen? I don't know. All right, one more angle on Gage. How about the Al Capone's vaults ref? That was like out of nowhere. Pops up every once in a while. Teams in NHRA drag racing, you mentioned earlier, are a business. And there are teams, especially in the Nitro ranks, you would think want to deliver for their sponsors, want to find the next great thing. You're seeing this young man who is young. He's the right size. He's all muscle. He clearly is unflappable on a pro stock motorcycle in the most pressure-packed of situations. Do you expect that Nitro teams may come calling for Gage Herrera? I asked him in the media center. He goes, I got my Super Comp license, Super Gas license, Top Dragster license, Top Sportsman license. I've driven them all. I've been in the 6s, and I would like to license in an NHRA Nitro funny car. And this guy in the back of the media center said, call me. It was Bob Tasca. Do you think Nitro teams are going to come calling for this guy after what he's been able to do?
It's possible. I think being able to deliver in pressure situations part of being a professional race car driver, especially in NHRA where there's no second chance. You can't go down a lap and then pick it up. So being able to from under pressure, and Bob Tasca has no bones about the fact that he would like to expand. He would like to have and at least to different people about the potential of being that second person. And if I'm Gage, I'm dropping a dime. Look, when can we have dinner and talk about this?
Yeah. And the internet doesn't want you to exist anymore, Alan. The internet has said enough, Alan. Yeah. What are you going to do? Hey, you've done a great job. Yeah, exactly. On the side of the road. All right, Reinhart. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Everyone needs to go to Lebanon Valley and listen to Alan. And hopefully, is that going to be streamed on NHRA TV? Do you know about that?
I believe it is. Yeah, I think D1 TV does all of their stuff up there.
Okay, now the internet is saying that you're okay. You would drop a dime if you were Gage, because why not? I think is where you were letting off.
If Bob Tasca told you, give me a call, even if he might have been kidding, wouldn't you make the call?
I will be calling him. Maybe, in fact, I'm going to call him anyway. Maybe he was talking to me when he said, call me. I don't know. Maybe right? Could have been. And the internet says, goodbye, Alan. Right? What you driving? I can tell you that Alan is in a brand new Mustang convertible. Yeah, I was kind of envious. And I did enjoy my Toyota Highlander that I was driving this weekend. But there he is. He's back. All right. Jim needs to know what you're driving this weekend, Alan.
What?
Jim wants to know what you're driving.
A Mustang convertible.
Exciting. Is it a great many miles car? Are you
especially that it's 79 degrees where I am right now?
And why is the top not down? That's top down weather, baby.
Well, I was on the freeway, and then usually as a general rule, top down on the freeway is not me. But I definitely had it down for a couple of trips back and forth to the racetrack, and it'll be down. If it stays like this, it'll be down for the rest of the week when I get up to Lebanon Valley.
Excellent. All right. Enjoy. Thank you very much. Happy 4th of July. Appreciate you. And have a great weekend out there.
All right. I hope you have a good weekend. I hope everybody has a great 4th of July, and we'll catch up next Tuesday.
We'll catch up next Tuesday. Yeah, and a rare no race week. So we'll have some results from Lebanon Valley, and we'll get into some interesting stuff. All right. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate you.
All right, Joe. Talk soon.
The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhardt, with us here on WFO Radio every Tuesday. Subscribe, click the bell, all that stuff, because we want to never miss a show. Yeah, the internet was fighting us a little bit today. Fighting us with Antron, fighting us with Alan. Hopefully you will tolerate that, right? Like, it's a miracle to me that we can even do this. Like, check in with Alan Reinhardt from the side of the road somewhere in New York, upstate New York. Antron in his shop, surrounded by equipment, machines, and different things. And so the internet skips every once in a while. You got to deal with it. All right. I want your comments in the comments section. I want to hear what everybody has to think. Like, what do you think about Gage driving a nitro car? And Billy says Antron Brown has entered the chat. Has he? I don't know. I'm not seeing him down there. Great show today, guys. Andrew has a question in the chat that I'm not even going to put up on the screen. But I will tell you, Andrew, yes. I mean, I have had a couple of conversations about it. It made me sad. What are you going to do, though, right? Like, people have the right. I made a call last week on the show, and then I talked about it a little bit more on the audio-only Ignition podcast yesterday. And, you know, people are going to do what they're going to do with their social media. And sometimes they're going to not realize what they're doing. They're not going to realize, like, oh, everybody I know and their brother is going to see this and it's going to cause a negative problem. And the answer is yeah. And that's what has been happening. That's why I try really hard to stay off of the social media other than to promote WFO Radio. Ken's, Lizzie's thing is going on right now. Celebration of Life. There's a live stream. And so we're going to try to vacate the air real soon so people can go to see that. I do want to shout out to the other winners and watch at least one Joe's Eye View from the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals. But we're going to do that after this.
Foggit is a high-performance fogging oil designed especially for internal combustion engines. Foggit can be used by everyone. If you have a lawnmower, a jet ski, a motorcycle, a tractor, a high-performance car, a classic car, racing vehicles, if it has a cylinder wall, it needs Foggit.
It really does. It needs Foggit. All right, let's do some Joe's Eye View of the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Nationals. Starting off with, I mean, why would we not enjoy a little, did I do Antron Brown? I think I did. Let's just click on one of these and see what it is. Let's see what it is. Up fuel, baby. Here we go. My view from the starting line. Antron left. Let's go letter right. Frank Roddy, teams of men and women with their equipment. Look for that tackle. Max Savage looks over. Final adjustment. Look at Slugger coming over. Congratulations, right? Toyota. Amazing, those moments. And I talked to a lot of people out there in Summit Racing Equipment Motorsports Park, and a lot of people said, hey, man, we really like that, what you're doing. And so I'm trying real hard to keep it going. Let's watch our next one. We might have to watch that again tomorrow when Richard is on. That's right. Richard Freeman going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. We're going to talk about Elite Motorsports and some cool and interesting things that'll be happening. I don't know if that Pro Stock motorcycle deal that Alan mentioned is true, though. I got to say, I don't know if Alan is right on this one. We'll see. We'll ask him. And I do want to say congratulations to Jeff Veal, who won Top Alcohol Dragster. Sean Bellemere defeated Matty Gordon in the final round, but what a final. Sean Bellemere completes the bicontinental Tony Bartone brothers double up once again as Anthony Bartone goes out there and wins in Mercedes AMG out there at the, the 24 Hours of Spa. How crazy is that? Royce Freeman wins Comp Eliminator. You know, one thing that I do lament a little bit, there's always a negative, right? There's always a negative. We didn't get enough time for our race of champions, our parade of champions. And I had to do 12 winners in 12 minutes, maybe less. And it was just like, who do you want to thank, or how did it happen, or something real quick. And, I like to spend a little more time with our Lucas Oil Series winners. And Royce, we didn't get into the fact that he won the race, and I'm sure his dad was looking down, very proud. And Royce Freeman did a great job winning in Comp Eliminator. Not easy. Jeff Dona in Super Stock. Ken Witcher, a first-time winner in Stock Eliminator. Phil Smida in Super Comp. Bob Prose in a Rambler wagon. The era of the Super Gas Roadster is over. The final 8 cars in category were all door slammers. What? How is that? There's no stat. There's no way to know when the last time that happened. But that is a pretty crazy stat. James Hinkle, in Top Sportsman. Don't call me Jim. Al Peevler in Top Dragster wins his first race ever. That was a little bit of a shock. Al Peevler wins his first race ever. Of course, Stephen Bell in Factory Stock Showdown. Lenny Lodig in the Grumpy's Toy in Factory X. Ruined the double up for Double Aaron, which I was just busting his chops a little bit because he wanted the double up. He gets a win and a runner-up. That's pretty great. Madeline Rogers and Junior Dragster, Scott Lieber and the Gassers, and Richard Gadsden, Greg Anderson, Austin Prock, and Doug Coletta win the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty challenges. All right, guys, put your comments in the comment section and we'll get out of here. I do want to drop a couple of notes. One, Gage Herrera's streak. Is it really a streak? Think about this. With the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty challenges, Gage can lose and have it not break the streak. It's an elimination run that doesn't actually count against the streak. So the thing about a streak is that you haven't experienced the agony of defeat. You haven't made any mistakes. You haven't had problems. They have made mistakes, had problems, gotten beat, experienced defeat. And so it's different. Now, their eliminations streak on Sunday is intact. But Gage has had the sting of defeat several times in this Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge. Does that help him stay grounded? Does it help him win on Sunday, getting beaten on Saturday, making the mistake on Saturday? He hasn't been mistake-free. He hasn't had a perfect bike. He's been getting beaten in eliminations runs that don't count. Something to think about. The Joe DiMaggio 56-game hitting streak, the greatest streak in the history of sporting streaks. There was not a game that he did not get a hit until the 57th game. And he missed it. And then the next 30 games he got it. But it's not a record. So I'm not taking anything away from it. But I'm thinking that this is enabling it in a way. Because Gage is not without the ability to reflect on a loss. He hasn't. The roulette ball hasn't gone black 30 times in a row. But when it matters, it has. So just something to think about. All right, let's see what everybody else has to say. Michael Heiner. Doesn't count against the streak. National event wins count. Right. But as a person, man, I haven't been beaten for 30 round wins, 35 round wins, but he's been beaten. It's just in a time that it doesn't count, which in the old days, those things didn't exist. What about Cal Ripken getting ejected in the first inning? Game streak still there. Apples and typewriters. But we can discuss it on Hear It From Heiner. And I want to invite everybody who enjoys this show to become a Patreon and support our show at another level where you pay money for a membership to get behind the scenes access. Patreon.com/WFO Radio. Heiner hosts a show just for the VIP listener club. Joe, the streak of streaks in professional sports has to be Cal Ripken's. No, it's not. It's Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. I love Cal Ripken. And I think it is tremendous. Showing up to work is great. But come on, 56 games. Joe, thanks for another great show. And it would have been nice if the internet gods would have cooperated. Share. Yeah, some days we're going to be like this, right? Mailman agrees with Heiner. Stop trying to spin it. It's just a fact, man. It's not spin. It's a fact. Just think about it a little critically. There's a difference here. Mike Horner, you're a genius for figuring that out. Oh, this guy's attacking Michael Heiner now, right? AJ liked the show. Thank you, AJ. I think it's awesome to have a team that doesn't need money joining the sport. Andretti will go out and hire someone regardless of if they bring money. I don't know that that's true. I have talked to some people that I know that are high up in the sponsor consulting side of the universe. They say that Michael has been expressing interest in drag racing for at least 5 years. I personally will believe it when I see it. Sorry. I'll believe it when I see it. I spent a lot of time in and around the Andretti's when I was at XM Satellite Radio, the Andretti Green Racing Hour, their Indy 500 shows, all of that stuff. And I think it would be amazing if Andretti Autosport went drag racing. It would be great for drag racing. I think it would be really good for Andretti. It would continue to elevate our sport. But again, I'll believe it when I see it. They got this Formula One thing going. They've got IndyCar. They've got Formula E. They're all over the place. And some might say, at what point are you spread too thin? But if it were to happen, I would celebrate it and love it and appreciate it. I'm a huge fan of Mario Andretti, and it would be amazing for drag racing. Of course, John Andretti raced in drag racing years ago, and why not? Why not? Let's get Marco out there, although Marco said, heck no. Jeff Dona putting that Stanfield Racing engine's power in the Super Stocker in the winner's circle. Way to go, Joe Lee. Happy birthday, Joe Lee. That's awesome. I think the Andretti story is very interesting. My biggest question with all these new teams, are there enough crew chiefs out there? The answer is no. We're going to tackle that. What I think would have to happen is you'd hire a consultant and train your own guys, right? There's not enough manpower out there right now. There's not. Billy Carroll. Antron Chat was a reference to the pro stock bike rider moving to the fuel ranks. 60 wins is a strong argument. If we're in a sport where talent and ability is paramount, then you have to look around and put Gage in the list of the people who are the most talented. If he can do this on a pro stock motorcycle, can he do it in a Nitro Funny Car? Can he do it in a Top Fuel dragster? If you're really building a team to win, then you need the most talented people. If you're building a team to survive, then you need the people with the most money. Our sport has really had the survival instinct outweighing the winning instinct in many of our teams. And at some point, that's going to go away because Sean Langdon is not out there to survive. And J.R. Todd and Doug Coletta are not out there to survive, and Antron Brown is not out there to be there. They're out there to win. And Justin Ashley, unless you got somebody that can go up there and go toe-to-toe with Justin Ashley and Antron Brown and Steve Torrence, you're wasting your time. And you're going to go out there and you're going to qualify 11th or 9th or 8th or 6th, and you're going to get bounced. You rolled up there with a 90 reaction time. You wrote a big check. It's great. You're there, and you're food. You're food for these guys, and they're going to eat you alive. And then you're going to be done. if you're going to put this investment together, if you're going to go out there and travel all these races, if you're going to put this much of your life and heart and soul and your family through all of this, you might as well be there to win. And that means have the best driver possible. Someone who has showcased their talent and abilities up and down the ranks through the Lucas Oil Series, instead of having the fun of driving a race car and shifting the car and losing first round. You should be there to win. And that's a transition that's happening in our sport. And it hasn't always been the case. And there will always be some people there doing that who can afford to write the check and be there. But at some point, if this thing continues to get better and stronger and tighter and closer, if Andretti were to come in, if there were other people who to get involved in nitro racing, it's going to squeeze out those guys that can just like write a check. And I'm not thinking of any specific individual right now, because everybody's working very hard and they think they can do it and they're trying real hard to do it. And maybe they can do it. Every single one of them. Like, look at Dan Mercier. Look at this guy. Bought the car, gone to the semis, had some great experiences. The only thing holding him back is he can only race so much. But who's to say he can't go out there and battle it out with Justin Ashley on a weekly basis? But Gage Herrera, you know, why would you not? If you really wanted a driver, why would you not knock on his door? Like, right? Why would you not knock on his door? All right, guys, it's 4th of July weekend. Just want to say happy 4th. And also happy birthday to my dad. My dad just turned 81 years old the other day, Sunday, race day. We had a great time. Any other comments out there? Money will outrun talent 7 days a week. But the money gets tired of being outrun, there's the talent. We'll be there to we'd be the pair to beat. Agreed. That's the thing about money. You know, and there's a lot of more people with money than there are talent. With great respect to that, by the way, they had some talent to make that money. That's another thing. Don't second guess that. Like, if you can somehow put together a business that you got enough money to run a nitro car, here's to you. That's tremendous. And we need more of you. Just think that, you know, I think about Richard Childress and I think about Rick Hendrick and I think about those guys. They used to drive. And what they did instead was put a gun in there and became winners and champions. We need the era of hired drivers back. Sean Bellemere, perfect example, right? Jeff Dragster Jeff says it's worth every penny to be a Patreon. I agree. Josh Hart hired Stewie. Yeah, very smart. And Stewie had all these engagements already scheduled, and he's been allowed to fulfill them, rightfully so. But Josh will make a comeback, no doubt. All right, guys. Happy 4th. Appreciate all of you. Thank you for checking out the show. Remember, right down there, subscribe, click the bell, never miss one. Our Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcast. And like we say every year, do not hold your fireworks in your hand. Be safe. Keep them all. And remember, this is the greatest country in the world. It's not perfection. We're always trying to make it better. We're always working hard. Things change. There's ups, there's downs. But we are all Americans. And when my grandfather was flying in a B-24J Liberator over Europe, being shot down, nobody in that plane was asking each other about, you know, like, whose side are they on? They knew. And when they stormed the beaches of Normandy, they were a band of brothers side by side, and we got to get back to that. We got to get back to that. And that's what I'm hoping on this 4th of July. That is my 4th of July wish, because we agree on way more than we disagree on. Way more. We have drag racing, and we got hot dogs, and we got apple pie, and we got Chevrolet. We got everything. And so thank you to Alan Reinhardt. Thank you to Antron Brown. And thank you to everybody that loves this show and enjoys this show each week. This is it, baby. Watch that Capital 4th, by the way. It's always great. It's my, like, secret 4th of July viewing experience. Capital 4th on PBS. The dramatic read, the Marine Corps Band, What's better than that? And head on out to Lebanon Valley. All right, guys, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time right here on WFO Radio.